Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's the man in black, all dressed in black, but I'm not Johnny Black. This is Dominic Copeland, and this is the ish that needs to be said. What is the ish that needs to be said? It's the stuff that you just want to flush down the toilet that people don't say, don't want to say, either don't know or don't want to say or don't want you to know. But I'm here to say it. I'm here for us to discuss it. I'm here for us to know it. Because the only way that the truth can come out is if you start to bring it to the light. And the only way you can do that sometimes is by saying the ish that just needs to be said. Trying to be polite sometimes is like the real world. What happens when people stop being polite, start being real? I don't own that phrase. That's from the real world. So real world, don't try to sue me over it. All right. But welcome back, my friends. Today, have some big things I'm going to be discussing. Some really big things that just it's the ish that needs to be said. I probably shouldn't say it. Might get myself in trouble for saying it, but I didn't come into this to stay out of trouble. I didn't come into this to get into trouble. I just came into this to say the ish that needs to be said. If that should get me into trouble, then so be it. We do as we need to be done. There's people that have done more than me, that sacrifice every day to make a great difference in our world, that have given more than I've ever been asked to give. So if I can lend my voice, then who am I not to? Who am I not to? Sometimes the best way to stand up is to speak up. Say the ish that needs to be said. That's what I'm here to do. So welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about a very controversial topic, the woke nightmare. Woke. What does it mean to be woke, my friends? Wow. So I'll start from this perspective. So being woke today, something that's been, I think, hijacked, bamboozled, and I'm trying to find it. I'm trying to see if I can free it. If not free it, then put it out of its misery. Because being woke today is not what I was growing up, not when I was growing up, what I was taught that woke was. It's a lot different than that. How it's being used today, how it's being abused today, I'll say, was never the original intent. And when politics get involved and so on and so forth, and other people start to come in, they start to hijack that narrative for their own say. Just like with Kaepernick and kneeling for the flag. Some people say you should never kneel for the flag. I also believe, well, you should never hang a man who's in uniform that served for his country just because of the color of his skin. So let's feel free to disagree on that one if we need to. But that's just how I feel about the situation. It's not kneeling. It's not running away. It's not, if you don't like it, leave. Because guess what, my friends? If we didn't like it, leave, this country would have never been founded. Okay. The British could have said the same thing. You don't like it, leave. When the Irish came here, when the Italians came here, other European cultures came here, they could have said the same thing. You don't like it, leave. This is America. Because they all had to face bias when they first got here. And then they were able to assimilate somewhat into the culture, right? But before then, they had to face tremendous bias. And instead of leaving, they said, you know what? No, we're going to stand up for what we believe in, what's right. We're going to stand up and hold this country to the ideals that it proposes that it stands for. That's what I believe in. That's what I've always been taught. And that's part of what being woke is. Being woke is this, my friends. Especially as a Black American, it was being taught to be aware of your surroundings, to be aware of the silent factors such as racism and so forth that impact your life, and how people are working every day to build this image of you and for you that is not you. And you need to be aware of that so that, as the saying goes, if you don't stand for anything, if you don't stand for anything, then you fall for everything. So being woke is about who you are and what you stand for, what is meaningful, what makes a difference for yourself, your fellow man, and holds our society to the nature of who it purports itself to be. Being woke doesn't have anything to do with a lot of the different nonsense that I hear today. It's been hijacked. I'm trying to find it, y'all. I'm trying to find it. trying to free it, trying to bring us back to something that makes sense. Because often things swing, the pendulum swings too far one way or the other. We find ourselves either too far over here where things are deadly dangerous, or too far over here where everything just lighthearted fun and doesn't make sense anymore. So I'm trying to bring it back to where we can actually make a positive and effective change. So I give you this. I always tell people, especially coming out of the pandemic, George Floyd, you had a lot of people angry and upset. A lot of people, not black people, but white people upset about the situation. Black people as well, but white people also. You know, it's almost like another civil rights movement where they woke up and said, you know, this is not right. These things that we're seeing that are happening, it's not right. What can we do about it? We've got to stand up. We've got to fight back. And I would always tell people, don't punch anyone in the face on my behalf. Meaning, don't get angry and upset and lash out and then try to have all these crazy rules that you're putting in place where you can't say master bedroom because that's racist. That's not racist to me. Okay, master bedroom. We all should have a master bedroom that has nothing to do with enslaving people. Maybe that's where the original content came from, but you know what, my friends, has been used as different today. We don't have to fight over that. That doesn't make sense for us to fight over. There's bigger things, bigger problems that we need to be focused on and worried about. So that's woke at its worst. You know, that's the woke nightmare right there. We don't need that nonsense. That's not what we're here for. And when I was younger, my cousins, I lived born in Reading, Pennsylvania, had a bunch of cousins that lived there, but also some that lived in other states, and they would come up and visit. Now, I remember I was a kid, I was having problems with some of the neighbors there or some of my friends there. We fell out, we weren't friends, we were fighting and whatever. And so cousins came up and we're like, you know, we're rolling around, we're like 30 deep. There was a lot of us. And, you know, saw the people that I had problems with. It's like, they're right over there. Let's go deal with this situation. Let's go show them who's boss. Show them who they're messing with. Don't come around here with that nonsense with me. I got people. I got people. One of my cousins looked over at me, put his hand on my shoulder. I said, you know what? Whatever you want to do, we'll do. We'll take care of the situation. Just want you to understand this. We're going to be leaving. We don't live here. So we're going to leave, go back home. You live here. You've got to stay here. You've got to deal with the consequences of whatever comes from this, and we won't be here to get you back. So before we do this, make sure it's the thing that you want to have done, and make sure that once we're gone, you'll be able to protect yourself against whatever comes back for you. Tremendous lesson at a young age. I was maybe 6, 7 years old. You know, tremendous jewels I was being handed at that time. Why is that important to today? Because it goes back to what I was saying. Don't punch anyone in the face on my behalf. Because when you do that, you come in angry and you say, hey, this is not right. This is what needs to be done. We're fighting back. We're doing this. We're doing that. But guess what? Eventually, you're going to get tired. You're going to move on to the next thing. You're going to say, you know what? We're going to move on to transgender. We're going to move on to whatever else, because these are the other issues that are facing us. Important issues. But you know what? When you move on, when all that energy is gone, like they say, keep that energy. You know, make sure you keep that energy. Make sure you keep that energy when I see you next time. But next time they come to see me, or they come to see you, you're not there. It's just me. And because of the things you've done, guess what? They're coming for me even harder. We're seeing that today with voter restriction laws coming back alive and stronger than ever, with a lot of the restrictions and the changes that were made during the pandemic and after George Floyd being changed and reversed. We saw that even in the reversal of Roe versus Wade. And now it's not about politics per se. It's about perspective. People feel a certain way, but because you came and you pushed and then you lost focus before the job was done, before the changes were made, because you didn't even understand what changes need to be made. You just came in swinging and fighting, upset and angry. And when that dissipated, you walked away. And everyone else was left there to bear the burden, the anger and the irony of what you had brought. My friends, that's not being woke to me. That's being fast asleep. Because you're not seeing the big picture. You're not realizing and understanding what's happening and what's going to happen. Even worse, I had people say to me during the whole pandemic, coming out of George Floyd and everything, this time's different. Don't you think this is different? I said, the problem is, if you go back and you look historically, civil rights, things that happened, Rodney King and all these other things that happened throughout time, right after slavery, Reconstruction, people always said the same thing. This time is different. How's it going to be different if we don't make it different? Are you going to stay the course? Are you going to finish the job? Are you going to do whatever it takes to make sure that we achieve true equity, equality? To me, equity is ownership. If you don't have equity if you don't have ownership over the decisions of your life, how can you be equal to somebody? How can you have equity? When you buy a home, the more you pay that home down, the greater your equity grows, because now the bank owns less of it and you own more of it. When you first buy that house, the bank owns a majority of the house. If they want to come and take it, they can come and take it. But once you pay that house off, guess what? 100% equity, 100% ownership. They can't just come take your home. You own it now. That's the difference. So is that what we're fighting for? Or are we just angry? We're just upset. We just say, hey, we're woke. We see what's going on. We see what's happening. And now we want to fight back and we want to change it. We want to make a difference. You can't do this. This is not who we are. This doesn't represent us as a society, what you did to George Floyd. It's too much. We don't agree with that. But what do you agree with? George Floyd was too much. Okay. But just like when they went to the Civil War, they said slavery was too much. But coming out of it in Reconstruction, they said, you know what? A lot of good, quote unquote, good people felt, you know what? Slavery is too much. But the same people that have been enslaved, they're not up to par with us. They shouldn't be given the same rights as us. They shouldn't be enslaved, but they shouldn't have enjoy the same rights and privileges. They shouldn't have that equity. So truly, what are we upset about? Are we just upset about someone making us look foolish? The whole George Floyd thing happens and all around the world to say, this is America. These are Americans. And other Americans have to stand up and say, no, this is not us. Let's do whatever we have to do to make sure that they don't see us in this light, to see us as who we believe ourselves to be. But then who we believe ourselves to be isn't truly living up to who we say we are. Because we're not fighting for true equity. We're not fighting for true equality. In this woke state of being, we call ourselves woke, but we're truly still asleep. Because we don't even understand what we're hopping into. I understood because I've lived it my entire life. My mother lived it. Her mother lived it. Her mother's mother lived it. So I get it. And we fought against it in many iterations in many ways, trying to make a difference for the better, trying to achieve that true equality, the true difference. So, my friends, this wokeness has become a nightmare. Because now it's been politicized. People are using it. They're saying, oh, this is part of the woke mafia. And people saying, don't do this. People saying, defund the police. Defund the police. I don't know who came up with that phrase. I mean, it's like they said the greatest trick the devil ever played was to make you think you didn't exist. I disagree with that. I think the greatest trick the devil ever played was to make you think that he was your friend and make you think he was a saint. And you took him at his word for it. Because whoever came up with defund the police, my friends, was not a friend to you, not a friend to us. Because that's the craziest phrase I ever heard. And other people saying, let's get rid of the police. For what? What are we going to have in the place of the police? Instead of defunding the police, I said we should right source the police. Make sure the police have the training, the resources they need, and right source them so that the police can be allocated to do the important jobs. You don't need police to be the social factors of society because we're no longer willing to pay for those things. Police shouldn't have to be involved in situations that they're not trained for, potentially, and that are a waste of their time. Why bring you into every social situation that may not be dangerous, may not be an issue, may not get elevated to that level or close to it, but because we don't have the other social fabric, the social foundations, we have to use the police for everything. And now you have to work 50, 60 hours and so forth to accommodate for everything else, dealing with these situations you may not be trained for, going into potentially hostile environments. And at the end of the day, you as a police officer go home and no one's looking out for your mental well-being, your good health. Because no matter who you are, we're all human beings. All this stuff impacts us. We got to deal with this all mentally and try to frame this. Our mind wants to take these things and put them into packages so that we can explain them. So that's what you have to do to try to make it through the day. And then especially we as men, we're not taught that it's okay to feel something, that we can get help so that we can learn how to deal with the things that we see that a human being may not supposed to be able to see. You might see some things that terrify you, especially being a police officer. I said one of the hardest jobs out there. It's like, it's not for me because I'm not built for that. I don't have that kind of patience. Are there people who are in that field that shouldn't be? Of course, there's people in every field that shouldn't be. The problem becomes when you allow those people to stay and to grow, because it doesn't become a bad apple. It becomes an infestation. It becomes the mindset and mentality. Whatever you accept becomes the mindset mentality of acceptance. So if you accept corruption, whatever it is, that becomes who you are. That becomes the orchard, not just a bad apple in the orchard. So those are things that we have to look at and change. But just coming in with a broad brush and saying, there's the woke nightmare, let's defund the police, let's get rid of them, they should all be gone. It's not the right direction for us to go in. Let's resource the police. Let's redevelop what policing is here in America, right? So it can be effective for the people who are doing the policing and the people who are experiencing the policing. Because to get rid of that social protection that we have there, especially not having anything in place, that doesn't make sense. So that's woke at its worst. That's not even being woke. To me, that's being fast asleep. Reimagining how we can partner together to make a difference, to say, okay, how can we make this an experience better for both the people that are doing the policing and the people that are being policed? To me, that's a greater difference. That's more being woke, being aware that there's a problem. It's a systemic problem. Where do we have to start at to change that problem? How can we address that? Can it be addressed? Can it be addressed? Can we effectively address it? So, my friends, I'm not in the arena of being punished because you decided to come up and punch someone in the face on my behalf and say, you know what, take this. This was for Dom. No. No, thank you. That was not for me. That was for you to make yourself feel better, to make yourself not feel guilty, to feel like you're seen in the light that you want to be a savior. I don't need you to save me. I need you to get in the trenches and work with me, right? Let's save our nation, save each other. Let's do the work that needs to be done. Instead of just coming in, swinging in like a hero or savior, saying, let's Let's come in and let's save the day. If you're not going to come in and do the work and be committed to the process of change, just stay on the sidelines. Better off that way. Change is difficult. Change is not easy. And change, most importantly, requires change. It requires that not just the outside factors. There's a quote: if you want to change anything in the world, first change yourself. You might have felt like that you've become awakened to certain problems that are happening in society, but you don't understand the history behind it. You don't understand the other factors that go into it. You don't understand what's already been done to truly try to make a difference, what's been effective, what has not. You're just hopping in and saying, let's go do it. And worse off, those people that are saviors that say, you know what, tell me what needs to be done. I'll take care of it. You don't have to worry about it. So that they can make themselves the saviors. No, thank you. We don't need that. If you're not going to help us to achieve equity, work together to achieve equity so that our voices can be promoted and included, and not included in the way that people say they want it included, but included in ways that truly grow, develop, and enlighten society. Then, my friends, don't punch anyone in the face on my behalf. I just don't need it. And don't say that you're awake. You're woke, because you're not. You're still fast asleep, dreaming beautiful little tidy dreams of how easy change is to happen. And you know what? If it gets too difficult or too tough, it doesn't matter. You just step away. Move on to the next thing. Because that's how it always is. Might not like it, but like I said, I didn't come here to say the things that you like. I came here to say what? The ish that needs to be said. My friends, I am Dominic Copeland. Make sure you stay tuned in. Let me know your thoughts, your feelings, what's going on in your head as I'm talking all this stuff that I'm talking. I'm speaking not just to have a voice out there, but speaking to be heard, to make a difference, so that one day we can all come together and hopefully say the ish that needs to be said, so that we can drive our society forward, so that we can go into the era of enlightenment and growth and development in the human being, instead of right now losing that part of us that's humane. Let's get back to being human beings. Join me here, my friends. Hit the like button below, subscribe, tune in, stay here, stay on top, because we're going to be winning together. We're going to be moving forward. We're going to be talking about the ish that needs to be said. And there's more exciting, crazy, fantastic things that are coming your way. So hope to hear from you soon. Stay tuned. Let's rock and roll together. I want you to have a beautiful, nice, enjoyable, wonderful day. And if you build up enough of those days, you know what? You look back and said, Dom, this wasn't too bad of a life. That's what I want for you, my friends. Enjoy the heck out of this journey, heck out of life. I want to go around this thing called life once, so let's enjoy it. Let's make the best of it, and let's leave our imprint knowing that we left something better behind. I'll see you soon, my friends. This is Dominic Copeland, and this is the ish that needs to be said. Talk to you soon.